Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked up and realized you were starting to sound like everything you were consuming? Not because you meant to copy anybody, not because you did not have your own thoughts, but because there is just so much coming at you. So many voices, so many trends, so many opinions, so many examples of what seems to be working. And before you know it, you are not asking, what do I really think? You are asking, what are people responding to? Today, we are talking about originality, not originality as a brand move, not originality as trying to be different just to be different. We are talking about originality as a lifestyle, because being original is not just about what you create, it is about how you live. This is episode 2 of the Main Character Mindset series. Originality is a lifestyle, and the reminder is still the same. Be the voice, not the remix.
Welcome to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast, a storytelling platform exploring perception, identity, and the moments that quietly shape who we become. A space for thought-provoking stories and conversations. Created and hosted by Denise Williams. This work began on the stage, but it developed into a broader storytelling platform. A space for honesty, for perspective, and for the conversations we may not usually say out loud. Here, we don't shrink to fit. We don't dim to survive the room. We show up, aware, expanding, and becoming. This is She Thinks She's Cute. Original stories, intentional impact. Let's begin.
Welcome back to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast. I'm Tanya, your guest host, and I'm here with the host of this podcast and the founder of She Thinks She's Cute, Denise Williams. This is episode 2 of the Main Character Mindset series, and today we are talking about originality is a lifestyle. Now, Denise, episode 1 was about when your voice gets crowded, and honestly, I feel like this episode picks up right where that left off. Because after you realize your voice has been crowded, the next question is, okay, now how do I live from my own voice?
Exactly. That is exactly it, Tanya, because it is one thing to realize, okay, I've been letting too many voices in, but then the real work is asking, now what? What do I do with my voice once I recognize it? How do I protect it? How do I use it? How do I trust it? And that is why I wanted this episode to be called Originality is a Lifestyle, because I think we sometimes treat originality like it only applies to creative people.
That's good, Denise.
Like it's just for artists, writers, speakers, content creators, entrepreneurs. But originality is not just a creative thing, it's a life thing. It's how we make decisions. It's how we respond to pressure. It's how we decide what we will say yes to. It's how we lead. It's how we show up in the rooms. It's how we stop abandoning ourselves just because something else looks like it's working.
That part.
Because that is where it gets real, Tanya. Originality is not always glamorous. Sometimes originality is you sitting with yourself long enough to say, this is not mine. That opportunity may be good, but it is not mine. That trend may be working, but it is not mine. That language may sound impressive, but it is not mine. That pace may look productive, but it is not mine.
And that takes courage.
It does, Tanya, because sometimes what is yours or what is ours does not look as polished yet. Sometimes what is yours or what belongs to us is still forming. Sometimes what is ours or what is yours, what belongs to those who are listening does not have the same immediate response. And if we are not careful, we will start trading what is true for what is familiar.
I like that you said originality is not always glamorous, because I think when some people hear be original, they think it means go be different, go stand out, go do something nobody has ever seen before. But that can become pressure too.
Absolutely, it can. And I want to say this clearly. Originality is not the same as trying hard to be different, because sometimes trying hard to be different is still a performance.
Denise, that is good.
It is, Tanya. You can be performing difference the same way someone else is performing sameness. So for me, originality is not about saying, let me do the opposite of someone else. It's more of asking, what is honest for me? What is aligned for me? What is true for this assignment? What actually fits? Because if I'm trying to be different, I'm still using other people as the center.
Wait, Denise, say that again.
Tanya, if I am just trying to be different, I'm still using other people as the center, because now I'm watching what everyone else does so I can do the opposite. That is still reactionary.
Oh, that is good.
Right. But originality is not reaction, Tanya. Originality is rootedness. It is not, let me prove I'm different. It is, let me be faithful to what is true. And sometimes what is true may look simple. Sometimes it may look quiet. Sometimes it may look slower. Sometimes it may not look trendy at all. But if it is aligned, that matters.
That makes me think about how some people can almost pressure themselves into a version of originality that does not even feel natural. Like now they are trying to be unique, but it is still not them.
Exactly. And that is why I say originality is a lifestyle, because you cannot perform it once and call it identity. You have to practice it in small decisions before you post, before you respond, before you create, before you agree, before you change your mind because you saw someone else doing something. It is those little moments where you ask, am I moving from my voice? Am I moving from pressure?
Can we talk about consumption for a minute? Because episode 1 touched on this with your voice getting crowded, but I think originality and consumption are very connected.
They are.
Because sometimes you do not even realize how much you are taking in until you sit down to create or speak or make a decision. And everything in your mind sounds like somebody else's caption, somebody else's strategy, somebody else's message.
Yes, and that is a real thing. It does not always happen because someone is trying to copy. Sometimes it happens because we are consuming more than we are creating. And when you consume more than you create, somehow your own voice can start getting buried. Not because it's gone, but because it has not had room to breathe.
That is such a good way to say it.
Your voice needs room. And sometimes the most original thing that you can do is pause before you take in more information, before you watch another video, before you read another post, before you compare another strategy, before you study another person's process. Ask yourself, what do I think?
That question sounds simple, but it is actually hard.
It can be very hard, Tanya, because some of us are not used to giving ourselves enough quiet to answer it. We're used to checking outside first. What are they saying? What are they doing? what is working for them, what is trending, what is the best practice. And there's nothing wrong with learning. I love learning.
Right.
Tickets on sale now at SheThinksSheCute.com. April 25th, 2026, 2 shows at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Hardin Auditorium in Evans, Georgia. Be in the room.
But we have to be careful when learning becomes leaning away from yourself.
Denise, that is the line.
I agree. That is the line, because inspiration should sharpen you, not swallow you. It should help you hear yourself more clearly, not make you disappear.
And sometimes you can feel it.
Yes, you can.
You can feel when something is inspired, and you can feel when you are forcing yourself into someone else's rhythm.
Yes, your body knows, your spirit knows. You may not have the language for it yet, but something in you feels off. You finish writing something or making something or planning something, and that is fine, but it does not feel like me, is what you're saying to yourself.
And that is an important signal.
Very important, because fine is not always faithful. Something can be technically fine. It can be polished. It can even be acceptable. It can be strategic. It can even get a good response. But if it disconnects you from your voice, you have to pay attention to that. That is very important.
Let's talk about what is working, because that phrase is everywhere. People say, look at what is working, study what is working, do what is working. And there is wisdom in that, but it can also get dangerous.
Absolutely. Because sometimes what is working becomes a trap, not because the information is bad, because we start treating someone else's results like our instructions.
That is strong.
And that is where people can lose themselves. They see someone else's success and think, okay, this must be the way. But it may be their way. It may fit their voice. It may fit their audience. It may fit their season. It may fit their assignment. That does not automatically mean that it fits yours.
And if you are under pressure, it is easy to grab it.
Very easy, Tanya, because pressure makes copying feel practical.
That is a whole statement.
It does, because when you feel behind, you do not always want to build from scratch. And when you feel overlooked, you do not always want to wait for your own language to form. And when you feel uncertain, you want something proven. So you can start borrowing. You can borrow structure, borrowing tone, borrowing strategy, borrowing pace, borrowing somebody else's confidence, borrowing someone else's branding, borrowing someone else's graphic design. And again, learning is not the problem. The problem is when borrowing becomes your foundation.
Because then you are building on something that was never assigned to you.
Exactly. And it may work for a little while, but eventually you will feel the disconnect. You will feel the weight of maintaining something that is not yours. That is the thing about imitation. It is exhausting.
Exactly.
Because you have to keep checking the source. You have to keep looking back. You have to keep asking, how did they do it? And studying how you think they did it. How did they say it? How did they move? But when something comes from your own voice, you still have to work. but you're not constantly pretending. There is a different kind of strength in that.
Exactly. So let's bring it down to everyday life because somebody may be listening and thinking, oh, okay, I get this for a podcast or a book or a brand, but what does originality look like in regular life?
I love that question, Tanya. In my opinion, originality in regular life looks like telling the truth about what actually fits you. It looks like not saying yes just because everyone else thinks it's a good opportunity. It looks like not rushing just because everyone else seems to be moving faster. It looks like not forcing yourself into a personality or a pace, a friendship, a business model, a ministry style, a leadership style, or a creative lane that does not match your assignment.
That is very real.
It is. And sometimes originality is quiet, Anya, and it's not always a big announcement. Sometimes it is just, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing it, or I need more time, or that it does not align. Or I know this is popular, but I do not feel released to move in that way. Or even I don't know yet, so I'm not going to pretend that I do.
That is maturity.
I agree, Tanya. It is because originality requires honesty, first of all. You cannot live originality and keep lying to yourself. That sounds strong, but it's true. You cannot keep saying, I am fine with this when you are not. You cannot keep saying, this is my style when you know you have adopted it because you were comparing. You cannot keep saying, this is strategy when it's really fear. You cannot keep saying that is wisdom when it's really avoidance. Originality will make you confront those places, but not to shame you, but to bring you back.
I like that. Not to shame you, to bring you back.
Yes, because the goal is not perfection. The goal is return. Return to your voice, return to your values, return to your assignment, return to what you know is true. That is the lifestyle.
Denise, I hear faith all through this because when you talk about assignment and what is true, it really does sound like trusting what God gave you, trusting your process, trusting that you do not have to wear what was placed on somebody else.
Tanya, that is exactly how I see it. For me, originality is connected to stewardship. If God gave each of us a voice, a purpose, He gave us a story, a way of seeing, then originality is not just a preference, it is a responsibility. I have to steward what was placed in me. And that does not mean I'm better than anybody. It does mean it does not mean that my way is the only way. It means I have to be faithful to my assignment. We all have to be faithful to our assignment.
Yes, Denise, that part.
And I think we get into trouble when we admire what is on someone else so much that we try to wear it.
Say that again.
We admire what is on someone else so much that we try to wear it. But everything you admire is not yours to carry. It's not yours to wear.
Oh, that is good.
You can honor what God is doing in someone else without copying it. You can clap for their lane without leaving yours. You can be inspired by their obedience without abandoning your own. My God, that is so important. And that is so freeing because once you realize that your lane is not your limitation, it is your direction, You stop fighting your own design.
That is a whole word.
Your lane is direction. It tells you where to focus. It tells you what to protect. It tells you what to stop chasing. And honestly, sometimes peace comes when you finally stop trying to make something fit that was never yours.
Can we talk about the slow part? Because I feel like originality can feel slow, especially when copying looks faster.
Yes, originality can feel very slow to some people because when you are building from your own voice, you may not have a ready-made template. You may have to sit with the idea longer. You may have to test language. You may have to try something, then adjust it, pray over it, lay it down, come back to it, refine it, and that takes time. And in a culture that celebrates speed, taking time can make you feel like you are behind.
And then comparison starts talking
Loudly. Comparison will say, look at how fast they did it. Look how polished they are. Look how many people responded. Look how clear the message is. And if you're not grounded, you will start questioning your whole process. But sometimes your process is not slow because something is wrong. Sometimes your process is slow because something is being formed correctly.
Denise, that is encouraging.
It is. And I think we need to normalize development, Tanya. Everything does not arrive fully formed. Your voice may need development. Your message may need development. Your confidence may need development. Your delivery may need development. But development does not mean you're not original. It means you are growing.
That is a good distinction.
Sometimes we may think if this is really mine, it would be easy. No, not always. Sometimes what is yours, what is ours, may require more from us. More patience, more courage, more discipline, more honesty, more obedience. But there is grace in that process too. You do not have to have it all figured out today. You just have to stop abandoning yourself every time someone else looks further along.
So give us something practical for the person listening. What is one way they can practice originality this week?
Something to practice originality this week. I would say start with one honest pause before you create, before you respond, decide, or commit. Pause and ask, is this my voice or is this pressure? That is it. That question will tell you a lot. Your response to that question will tell you a lot.
That is simple, but not easy.
Exactly. And then I would ask one more question. This may not apply to everyone, but to some it might. What would I choose if I was not trying to prove anything?
Oh, that is good.
Because trying to prove anything at all can make us perform. When you're trying to prove you are capable, you may overextend. When you're trying to prove that you're creative, you can force something. When you're trying to prove that you're relevant, you may chase trends. And when you're trying to prove you belong, you may shrink or imitate. So ask, what would I choose if I was not trying to prove anything? That question can bring you back to truth.
Denise, I love that.
I would also encourage people to write before they scroll. I mentioned this on the last podcast. Even if it's just 5 minutes, before the world tells you what to think, give yourself space to hear what is already in you. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be deep. It just has to be yours.
That is such a strong place to pause. This was episode 2 of the main character mindset series, Originality. is a lifestyle. And I hope you heard that originality is not about trying to be different for attention. It is about living honestly. It is about returning to your own voice. It is about trusting what God placed in you. It is about choosing alignment over performance. Carry these two questions with you. Is this my voice or is this pressure? And what would I choose if I was not trying to prove anything? If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs the reminder to stop remixing what was meant to be original. And make sure you follow the She Thinks She's Cute podcast so you do not miss the next episode in the series. Back to the pen. Denise, take us home.
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you for listening to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast. This is the main character mindset series, and this is the reminder is be the voice, not the remix. If you found yourself in this episode and you have found yourself pulling away from your voice, I want to encourage you to practice returning to your own voice. Not in a loud way, not in a forced way, not in a way that tries to prove you are different, just in an honest way. Before you copy the pattern, pause. Before you chase the trend, pause. Before you shrink the message, pause. Before you move from pressure, pause. Ask yourself, what is true here? Because originality is not just what you create, it is how you live. Thank you for spending time with us. Follow the podcast, share this episode, and continue the conversation with us at shethinksshe'scute.com or on all social media. Until next time, protect your voice, honor your assignment, and keep becoming the main character in the life you are called to live.
Be the voice, not the meat remix.
Visit shethinksshe'scute.com. She Thinks She's Cute is a founder-led creative brand developing original, narrative-driven works across stage, experiential formats, and future screen projects, centered on perception, identity, and the unspoken dynamics that shape how we see ourselves and one another. Original stories, intentional impact, shethinksshe'scute.com.
She thinks she's cute, yes, she is. Every step she takes, she walks in power. She thinks she's cute, and she is. She thinks she's cute, and she is, yes.
Thank you for listening to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast. If this found you at the right moment, hold it, sit with it, share it, let it work. A space for thought-provoking stories and conversations. Created and hosted by Denise Williams. The story continues. We'll meet again in the next conversation. Until then, stay cute, stay aware, stay aligned, and stay becoming. She Thinks She's Cute. Original stories. Intentional impact.
Some seasons do not unfold the way you planned. When my stage production had to be postponed, I found myself in a season I did not choose and could not push past. What felt like interruption revealed itself as instruction. What felt like delay became protection. What felt like stillness proved to be strategic. And in the middle of that season, I wrote a book, Strategic Stillness, When Pausing Protects the Promise. This is not a book about waiting passively. It's about recognizing when restraint is wisdom. It is for leaders, creatives, and vision holders who have felt the pressure to keep going, even when the body, their spirit, or their circumstances were asking for a pause. If progress has slowed, plans have shifted, or movement feels blocked, this book was written for you.
Available now on Amazon. Search Strategic Stillness by Denise Williams. Start your next season with Strategic Stillness.